the Federal Reserve on a PR blitz, trying to convince average Americans that the economy is improving and that, well, inflation, it's not a reality. But as one Fed president pointed out, how the price of the iPad is dropping, and an attendee in the crowd pointed out, hey, I can't eat an iPad. Food and gas prices aren't factored into the Fed's formula for core inflation. Leslie Marshall is a Fox News contributor in Los Angeles. Imogen Lloyd-Webber is a political commentator and author. And Dave Kansas is with the Wall Street Journal. Let's start with you, Dave. I know you think a lot about the Federal Reserve.
Well, inflation, the people think inflation is a problem because they eat and they use gasoline. But the Fed doesn't count that, too volatile. So they think there is no inflation. The Fed even came out today and said inflation pretty subdued, which means they're not going to raise interest rates anytime soon. And that's getting people pretty nervous that they're losing the plot on the whole inflation thing.
Imogen, you know, aren't they crazy? Because, I mean, gas and food prices do matter.
Main Street are absolutely suffering. The problem is the Fed fears deflation more than inflation, and they certainly fear inflation less than in Europe. At the moment in Europe, they're busy looking at maybe doing something with interest rates. Certainly not with the Fed here, and also with what was going on with Japan. So sadly, and also with the Middle East, the Fed aren't going to be anywhere near changing their policy towards inflation anytime soon.
Leslie, does the Fed have a lot of splaining to do?
Well, they do, because a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, you have a deadline of June for quantitative easing, but we're really fearful of inflation pushing up and quicker if you don't get rid of it. And they can't ignore the fact that consumer confidence is higher, consumers are buying more, and unemployment is lower. What goes up must come down, but what goes down must come up. And that means interest rates will, and I fear that inflation might.
We're all worried about it, and we're already seeing it. Okay, reports today, taxpayers have been forced to pay more than $3 million in wrongful Medicare payments for Viagra and other sexual dysfunction drugs. Such pills are prohibited from coverage, but the payments were approved due to a faulty list of banned drugs. Leslie, what do you say about this?
Oh, come on, Jerry. Give the old guys their Viagra. I mean, can't you have sex in the golden years?
If they want to pay for it, Leslie, that's fine.
No, I'm with you on that. One of the problems, not just with Medicare, but with any huge system, whether it's government or in the private sector, is you have these software glitches when you don't have the proper information put in, which is one of the reasons my husband's Medicare reimbursement as a physician was held up for 3 months. So fix the system, but it's common with big systems and big corporations.
Dave, software glitch?
glitch. I wondered why I was on with these. I think it's funny how these mistakes always seem to help men. I mean, it's usually...
I wasn't going to say that. I'm glad you brought it up.
It's kind of odd. I wonder if they're the ones doing the software glitching.
Well, could be. All right, Imogen?
Now, what you need here in the U.S. is a death panel, as you've decided many people here call them, which is a national...
Including the Willis report.
The National Institute National Institute of Clinical Excellence in the UK. And it is there to make sure this sort of thing doesn't happen and to ration things like Viagra. They would have picked up on this. So you need one of those, maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I agree, but I see your point. Pima County, Arizona is trying to secede, but not from the union, from the state. The group trying to make secession happen has 2 years to secure enough signatures to put the initiative on the ballot. The move is in response to a slew of recent laws passed by the conservative state legislature, including controversial immigration legislation. Imogen, what do you say?
Well, I'm an outsider here, so it's fascinating watching this at work and the differences between Republicans and Democrats. I come from London. I come from a place where politicians really agree on most things. Everybody agrees in national health care, everybody believes in education, everyone believes in tax. So it's fascinating for me to see, but I think this is more sort of lip service. It's a fun idea, but it's not going to happen, is it?
Dave?
Well, it's a little bit like the Welsh, right? Imogen, they kind of want to have their own deal in the United Kingdom. Pima County, the same thing. The problem for Pima County is that's really part of Mexico. You know, and they are going to open the gate there. Gadsden Purchase 1848, they're going to open the gate to some uncomfortable conversations if they start to get some traction on this secession idea.
Anything could happen. All right, Leslie, what do you think should happen?
Well, if you can't beat them, join them. I thought, I guess if you can't beat them, leave them. But I have to say that this is not the way to go. Not only will it not happen, you know, maybe not fighting fire with fire, but if you don't like the policies, you have the power with your vote. I mean, you don't say we're going to break off from the state. I think it's crazy when Texas talks about doing it from the U.S., and I think this is crazy, even though they are the liberal Democrats doing it.
All right, guys, next story. Time magazine is causing some controversy with a headline over the weekend. Listen to this. Wisconsin's governor wins, but is he now dead man Walker? Following the tragedy in Tucson, those in politics and the media vowed to tone down the rhetoric, but not sure that's happening now. Imogen?
It's quite extraordinary. I think Americans, voters, just want Republicans and Democrats to grow up, to deal with deficit reduction, which is huge. Republicans and Democrats are going to have to work together. It happened in the UK. We had the Conservative Party join together with the Liberal Democrats to force through those austerity measures. It will have to happen here, and this is just pathetic.
Leslie, deal with real issues? Come on. The vice president was supposed to deal with the budget, and he went on vacation to Finland.
Well, you know, I don't like any kind of violent rhetoric coming from either side. I think I know what they were trying to do, like the dead man walking, and I think they're referring more to the recall, I would certainly hope, than Governor Walker's life. But, you know, we're looking at, there's no question the vice president needs to be present, not in Russia. There's no question that the United States people need to have more confidence in both the president and vice president when it comes to the budget. But Governor Walker, whole different thing. Demonizing unions has nothing to do with money when you looked at the collective bargaining issue and how they split that piece of legislation.
Obviously, the debate will continue. Thanks, Dave, Leslie, and Imogen. Great to have you here. Great job.
Thanks, Jerry.
We'll be right back with